Okay guys, this is going to be the video that reveals why that gear got tore up so badly. That's this gear here. That's this one here. And this is the gear that goes on the end of the camshaft. It goes on the external part of the upper gear, and it bolts through. There's a bolt that goes through, a 17mm bolt, and connects this to your camshaft. So what this gear does is it drives this. This is your camshaft synchronizer. And what it does is it controls when the engine, it tells the engine where the camshaft is and when to send spark, and also it controls fuel injection from my understanding. So this turns just like a regular distributor, has a gear here on the bottom, and these gears mesh up. With this gear is on the camshaft in this orientation. This is facing toward the passenger side, this the gear side, and then this comes in here like this, mates up at an angle like this. So when this turns, of course it turns this gear and tells your engine where the when to spark and send fuel injection, that kind of thing. Most basic terms. So the shaft, this is your timing cover. This is probably what you'd recognize from the front. That's your water pump right here. This is your water pump, and it's all contained in one big piece. Well, up here is that synchronizer, the camshaft synchronizer, and that's what it looks like inside. So I can turn the gear, supposedly, if I can get my hand on it properly. But this turns inside here, and that's where that gear mates up to it. It'll sit right in here, actually right here. It'll sit in there like that on that camshaft, and this mounts in there this way. So when you look down inside your engine, this is kind of what you see. This is where the crank goes, so this is what you would see. This right here is where your oil pump goes, and right here is where that shaft comes in. It goes all the way through. It's kind of like shaped like an Allen wrench, but hexagon or octagon, something. And it comes out and it drives your oil pump, which looks like this. That's where your filter goes. You screw your filter on, and this is what it looks like on the inside. These gears, you have to be real careful because they will fall out. They're just gears like this. Kind of a star gear, I guess you could call it. Cogs of some sort, but I don't think there's any real timing, but I just went ahead and put the dots back together. I don't know if there's any real timing for it or not. But what I wanted to go over with you is, and this is where the shaft goes down inside. It's a hexagon shaft. Oh, I'm sorry, it's this one. This one here. It goes down inside, and here's your gasket. And so what that does, it turns these gears, pumps the oil throughout the engine. Well, initially we thought, well, that was the problem, that maybe the oil pump had froze up and it did everything. So we got to looking at it, and I called several companies to see if they had any idea. So I got with one company. They asked me not to mention their name, but they said, is it a Ford gear that you got? I said, no, it's by another company, and here it is. It's on right here. Spectra Premium is the brand that's in here. I'm not saying it's a bad brand, but I'll tell you what the difference is. So when you put this thing in, and this mounts up in there, let me get you up into the engine compartment here. Let me move you way up into here, and I'll show you where all that goodness goes. Okay. Oops. Right up here at the very top, this thing right here, that's your balance shaft. Of course, that's a gear that turns. This is the end of your camshaft where this gear mounts. It's a keyed gear. So this goes on here. There's also another, there's another timing gear that goes on there. I've got them off right now. Just cleaning them up a little bit. It goes about like that. Okay. And then of course the synchronizer comes in up here on the top. And as this turns, and this is the crank down here. This is your crank gear. I just left it on there. But all your timing components go right here. That's where all this would go. But that up there specifically is the camshaft synchronizer gear. And what had happened is I was driving down the road, just got on the interstate, and all of a sudden it started spitting and sputtering and running extremely rough. It almost acted like it was running out of gas. It was really an odd boom, 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 boom. And I thought, oh Lord. So then within about 30 seconds of that, the oil light came on, so I immediately shut it off, pulled off to the side of the road, and was wondering what the heck was going on. So what had happened then is I finally got the car back to the house, and get back around this way. So, for content, sorry, trying to get out of the sun here. So I got the car back to the house, and we finally tore it down. We were brainstorming, trying to figure out what it was. And as you can see on this gear here, it's completely destroyed. It's completely carved out in comparison to this gear up here. You can see this gear is really in good shape compared to this one. Completely destroyed. Well, this gear is made out of cast iron. Basically the same stuff a cast iron skillet's made out of. This is here. Okay, so the main difference here is when you have a soft metal, essentially a soft metal, probably didn't feel soft when you drop it on your foot or anything, but when you have a soft metal such as this, the only other metals that basically are going to get along with this are aluminum and cast iron, similar metals, similar, cast iron, metal, gear, that type thing. So what we found out was the problem, trying to get this out of here, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but right there, I don't know if you can see it, we'll try to focus in on it. That, my friend, is a Ford part number, and this gear right here is similar metals to this. They're both cast iron, so they would get along just fine. They would not wear out like the other one did. However, this one does not have that Ford number on it. It has some other writing down here on this shaft area here. This is a steel gear. Steel obviously is much harder than the cast iron, and you really can't tell them apart. That's the hard part. This one here is the Ford, this one here is the Spectra, this one up here is the Spectra. Steel gear, cast iron gear. Of course, you'd never realize that, and you don't think about it. I didn't think about it. I didn't buy that particular part. The person I bought the van from had it and said, hey, they said to replace it. So when I took the engine out, did all the engine rebuild and stuff like that, I went ahead and popped it in there, never giving it a second thought. And it lasted for quite some time, but apparently it chewed it all to pieces and ended up filling up everything with metal flake and that type thing. So right now we've got the oil pan off, we've got everything out, so we're going to put it all back together. And again, this is just another lesson. Buy Ford parts. Do not buy aftermarket parts. Dorman, some of the aftermarket parts are great. I can't say that, I can't categorize all of them as a bad part, but something as similar as as important as this needs to be, a Ford part. You can't be putting in parts that are going to chew each other up. One has to win, and unfortunately the steel won on this one and chewed it all up. So now what I'm going to have to do is, they just called and told me that the gasket sets in, so I got to replace the gasket. I'm going to put some cheap oil in it, trying to flush the system out really good. Still put a good filter on it, Motorcraft filter, and I'll run it for 50-60 miles or so, and then drain that oil, flush it really good, and then put back in the Motorcraft 520 synthetic blend, and a brand new filter, of course. But again, that's the problem. Is I didn't give it any thought, but that is what tore this car to pieces again. And other than that, it was running beautifully. You can look at my previous videos, and it was running Lexus smooth, as I call it. And then all of a sudden, just out of the blue, decided to give up the old Ghost there, and ended up with chewing up the gear. I mean, there's no way that thing can drive anything. It's very rough, but of course, there's no gear. There's nothing to grip. You can tell the two here together. They're shot. This one's shot. So these are very hard to find. Extremely hard to find. You will not find them online. Guarantee you. You will not find them online, and if you do, you'll be lucky. But keep an eye out. I might change that. I might change that availability quite a bit. So just wanted to let you know, buy Ford parts. This is a stock Ford part. This is not, some aftermarket piece. And surprisingly, it doesn't say the Ford numbers on it or anything. There's no numbers on it or nothing to identify it that. But it's guaranteed a known Ford part. So that's where it's at. So as I mentioned in the little short video before, like 2-minute video, wanted to mention that I noticed on the analytics that it was like 99.6% of the folks that are viewing my videos, or they're not subscribed. Doesn't cost anything, and I promise it won't drive you crazy or anything. But if you would, smash the subscribe button and hit the little bell icon so that you know when I do put this up, because there are a lot of these engines out here. I was very surprised at the amount of engines that the 3.8 and even the 4.2, very similar motor. It's kind of like the 4.6 and the 5.4, very similar motors, just some very basic differences. But I try to put this content out because people do still drive these vehicles, and again, this motor is extremely popular still. I get tons and tons of questions, and as I mentioned also in the previous video, I don't just give you a real quick generic answer. I try to go into detail. I want you to be able to use the information that I've gathered from my own experience with this 2000 Ford Windstar. And just in general, the same engine, like I said, goes in so many different things. It goes into the Mustangs, it goes into the Freestar, the Windstar, I think the Thunderbird also. Yeah, Thunderbird, the older Thunderbird had this engine in it. So there's a lot to be learned from this. So if you wouldn't mind, smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, hit the little bell icon. I'd like to see, of course, the subscribing go up. I'm only at 71, but I'm not trying to make a living at this, but I'd sure like to know that people are appreciating the information that I bring. And yeah, we'll go from there, and I'll keep you updated on this. Hopefully we'll get this thing together today. Parts are in, so we'll get the oil pan back on and get her back on the road. See how much longer we can make it go. I'm well over 200,000 miles on this thing, so we'll see what happens. Until then, take care, be safe. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and share the video. Share the video. This really helps me, helps you, and helps somebody else out there. So, till then, take care, be safe.